Hey guys, Ari here. I just wanted to go over a brief list of things that people might want to consider when they're thinking about getting into trucking to see if trucking might be a good fit for them. A lot of people, including some friends of mine and people that I've been around in the mentoring process, have gotten into trucking and then figured out that the life and the pay is not quite what they expected, so it's been kind of a shock for them. For me, I came into it really having no expectations, so the way it worked out was just fine for me. But these are some things that you might want to consider when you're thinking about whether or not trucking or even just the mentoring process and getting started choosing some place where you're going to train for the CDL test. These are some things that you want to think about when considering that. So the first thing I would think about is what kind of driving do you already do? If you've never been a long distance driver, if you've never had to visit places that are 4 to 8 hours away, if you can't even drive for more than 4 hours without taking a break or getting tired, automatically trucking is going to be a little bit of a no-go for you. Just because most of the days that I've been through, I'm driving easily 8-9 hours. There are some short days, but they're very few and far between so far, and I've been driving for about 2.5 months already, both through the mentoring process and on my own so far. It's just been mostly 10-hour days. You know, if you have a late drop, or you start early and you have a full 1,000 miles to go and you can get 600 in that day. I've done 11-hour days. I have no problem with it. It's something that you kind of have to work yourself up to. But if you're already the kind of person who has never driven long distance, you've never done 4 to 6 hours on your own, no stopping, maybe a restroom break, and that kind of wears you out, trucking might not be the best choice for you. Let me think. Another thing would be, if you're not already a good driver, if you have accidents, if you've rear-ended people from not paying attention, if you catch yourself driving distracted a lot with a cell phone, or getting easily distracted and not really paying attention during things like night driving, heavy traffic situations. Basically, if you're not already a good driver on your own in a vehicle, a small vehicle, there's no way you're gonna rise to the occasion when it comes to driving such a large truck. Even myself, I consider myself a pretty good driver. I don't have any accidents. I've never been pulled over for anything like a seatbelt or anything like that. I've had my fair share of scary incidents in a car, with deer and ice and rain and hail. And even now, driving a truck is sometimes a little bit of a difficult experience, just because I'm still not used to the weight. It's sometimes, if I'm driving with 30,000 pounds and there's heavy rain and the roads are kind of slick, I still get kind of nervous because I don't have a definite point of reference for how good my traction should be, depending on the tires that I might have on my trailer. So if you're not already the kind of person who considers themselves a good driver, and you don't have other people who kind of consider you a good driver, you might not want to get into trucking, just because you basically have to relearn how to drive, and the stakes are a lot higher when you're dealing with an 18-wheeler. The weights that you're throwing around are vastly different than what you're dealing with in your regular car, or your crossover or your truck. You might be carrying thousands of pounds in back of you, and if you're not paying attention and you're in LA traffic or you're in Dallas traffic and you have to make a sudden stop, you're not going to stop suddenly. You're going to have to take the hit. Another thing concerning regular day driving is, if you have already gotten to the mindset of using what I like to call like advanced driving tactics, like if you're the kind of person who can see a red light and you already know, okay, if I slow down for this red light, I won't have to stop later because I know what the timing is on this red light. If you see a red light and you slow down so that you can avoid coming to a complete stop, if you're that kind of driver who uses that kind of advanced thinking, or if you are the kind of driver who knows that you're going to make a right turn in 2 or 3 miles, so you need to go ahead and get in the right lane right now. That is a good thing. If you're the kind of driver who regularly finds yourself, getting in weird situations, getting stuck, making turns last second, not really knowing what to do when you're in a foreign place. If you're from California and you end up on the East Coast, if you don't know anything about how to navigate the roads, navigate the signs, any kind of adjusting to traffic laws, then trucking might not be good for you, just because you're doing that daily. You're always dealing with a different area. You might go 600 miles and be in a totally different place where suddenly you're only navigating by Qualcomm and GPS, and you have to read the signs constantly just to make sure you know where you're going. So you need to be an advanced driver. You need to be someone who can drive safely in a regular day basis, and you need to be someone who can kind of rise to the occasion, because there is a skill gap that you need to rise to in order to basically perform adequately and safely as a truck driver once you kind of switch over from cars to trucks. Another thing that you might want to consider when you're getting started by looking into trucking is you might want to consider the cost, the investment that you have to put in when you begin trucking. Just because it's not something where you can simply join a company and then start driving. You have to put in the time and the effort to learn how to drive. You have to get your license. You have to put in the time at the DMV or the MVD to get all your paperwork done. Then you have to repeatedly prove yourself through state testing. When you start out at a company, they might have you do a road test with somebody, and once you're done with that mentoring process or whatever teaching process they have you go through, they'll probably have you do another road test just to make sure that you can drive on your own. And so for me, my time from the start to finish to driving on my own was about 4 months. So I started in May. I took a driving program. I trained, I did about 4 weeks of traffic regulations and trucking regulations, as far as like hazmat, all the usual stuff, how to do your pre-trip, how to do your logs, all that good stuff. And then I did 4 weeks of maneuvers, getting ready to pass just the road test in my state. So before I even got to Swift, or before I even started mentoring, I had already done about 8 weeks, and only 4 of those were driving, so I wasn't really experienced at that point. But I had already invested probably close to $1,200 just to get to the point where I could get hired by a trucking company. So if you're someone who's a little bit short on cash, you might want to consider your options, because there are companies like Swift who provide these training programs that you can go through. They provide academies where you can go ahead and get your learning done, and get some practice behind the wheel. But these are going to run you anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 and above. So the great thing is you don't have to pay up front, but you're going to have to pay later on. So if you're someone who's short on money, I was short on money, so I basically had to take the cheapest route possible. And I still made it through, but there were a lot of people who, because they chose the specific short route, the shortcut, they didn't make it through. As to where I feel someone who took the long route and invested the time and the money to go to the academy probably would have done a lot better. They probably knew a little bit more than we were. They were probably able to get the test done a little bit faster. So that's something to think about. If you have the money to do it, definitely maybe take the academy. But if you're someone who's competent, if you've done trailer backing before, not necessarily 53 inch, or 53 foot, but if you've had some experience with trailers and backing, and and large vehicles. Definitely take a look at maybe cost-effective options, like the smaller schools. Maybe you have a university that offers that kind of a class for you. Another thing that you have to consider when you're thinking about getting started in truck driving is that this is not the cleanest life. You're not going to be able to go home every day and take a shower. You're not going to be able to just go to any restroom at any time and have it be clean like you would at home. So there's definitely going to be some individuals who will gross you out. There's definitely going to be some restrooms that will gross you out, and there's definitely going to be some food that's going to gross you out as well. So you need to consider all of these things. You might be able to take a shower every day if you're planning ahead and you've got the money to go ahead and spend on a shower. You can do that, but it's going to add up to about $150 a week based on where you go. Most showers are about $12 to $14. So unless you're getting your rewards cards and you're fueling up and you're getting your points and your free showers and stuff, you're probably not going to be showering every day. So if that's a big thing for you, you might want to consider that. You're going to have to stay clean without being able to shower every day. So you're going to need wipes and hand sanitizer and all this other stuff that to compensate for the fact that you might not be able to shower every day. The last thing I want most people to consider is the life that trucking includes, or that's included in trucking, because it's definitely different from your day-to-day life, your regular life. It requires a little bit of adjustment, even for someone like me who is pretty laid back. I take whatever comes. If I'm gonna have to sleep in an uncomfortable bed or whatever, if I'm gonna have to deal with some cold or some heat, I really don't mind. But even this is a little bit of an adjustment for me. So if you don't think that you can take leaving home for anywhere from 2 weeks to a month to even longer, if you've got things that you need to do at home, you might want to get those squared away before you start trucking, because those are going to become things that you cannot regularly do. You're going to be out for weeks at a time, and you'll be getting paid for it. You'll be earning good money, but just the ability to do things on a day-to-day basis is going to be hampered. You're not going to be able to go wherever you want to eat. You're not going to be able to go to do whatever you want for fun. You're not going to be able to see whoever you want to see. You're not going to be able to just hang out and watch TV or hang out and watch Netflix anymore. You're going to be in the truck driving, sleeping, or hanging out for a little bit. And that's not so bad when you consider that it just means that you're making more money. But there are some people who might not be able to adjust to that quickly. You need to be able to sleep in cold. You need to be able to sleep in the heat. Not necessarily because you're gonna have to. You can turn the truck on. You can buy yourself a heater, you buy yourself some fans, but you just need to be able to deal with those things in addition to being alone and being bored sometimes and bringing along your own entertainment. That way you don't have to deal with all these things at one time, or that they don't all pile up on you and become a little bit bigger than they really are on their own. Because I can think of, okay, I have to sleep on this bed in this truck in some other place that's not my house for a little bit. I can deal with that. But then when you add on weather, the constant travel, not being able to do really whatever you want to do, it can be a little bit much for some people. So that's pretty much all I can think about right now. Is if you're thinking about getting into trucking, consider what kind of a driver you are, what kind of driving experience you have, what your driving record is. If you've never done any long distance driving, you should definitely do some long distance driving before you get into this, because it's going to be even harder, because not only are you driving long distance in a truck, but you have to be alert, you have to stick to your schedule, you have to deal with road hazards a lot more seriously than you would in your car. You need to consider the life, you need to consider the investment that you're going to have to put forth in order to start making money as a trucker. You're also going to have to think about what kind of a safe driver you are. Are you an advanced driver, or are you just somebody who drives day to day? You've never had an accident because you've just gotten lucky? Are you someone who thinks forward? Can you anticipate people making dumb moves on the road? Just things like that. Can you deal with having to eat, gas station food? I mean, it's not necessarily bad, but can you deal with eating Subway 3 or 4 times a week? Can you deal with Wendy's, Arby's, pizza sometimes? You might find a Denny's or a restaurant. Those are usually good options. But can you deal with having all those things, happening at one time? There's a lot of things to think about. So I hope this has helped you a little bit. If so, leave a comment. Maybe let me know what else you want to know. You might have to consider thinking about when you get started in trucking. Peace.